Alrighty. Welcome everybody to a very special episode of Sundays with Josue, where we get together weekly every Sunday at 8 p.m. to talk about business, your mindset, and how to enhance both so you can increase your productivity, your revenue, and your overall impact on the world at large through your business. This episode is going to be a very special one. I'm super excited because this is going to be our first ever interview where we're bringing on a guest, and this individual is someone that has made a very big positive impact on my life personally. They are a mortgage loan officer with CMG Financial. They are also one of the pillar stone members of the New Standard Group, which is a group organized and designed as a nonprofit organization to empower and set a new standard for Black entrepreneurs and Black youth. So I want to go ahead and give a very warm welcome to my friend and someone who has been a great help in my life and will give a lot of value to you guys today, Moses Alford. Say hi, everybody, Moses.
Hello, everyone. How are you? I'm very happy to be here.
We're happy to hear you and happy to have you here. So, guys, if you're watching this live, go ahead and leave a comment, say hi, say where you're from. If you're watching on the replay, stay tuned because we're going to be bringing you immense value. So, Moses, I obviously know you very well. We're personal friends, but give people a quick background about who you are. Who is Moses, and where have you been and where you are now?
Absolutely. My name is Moses Alford. I am originally from South Carolina, the coastal area, a little town called Georgetown. Kind of moved around quite a bit during my adult life, lived in Atlanta for some years,
Mhm.
found my way down here to Tampa about 4 or 5 years ago and just absolutely fell in love with it.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's what's not to love, right?
Yeah,
Um,
true.
Yeah, I'm a lifelong entrepreneur. I started my first entrepreneurial endeavor when I was 8 years old with a truck full of watermelons from a farmer in my front yard.
Oh man.
Um, you name it, and I've done it. It's, more or less, I've been working for myself my whole life.
Hmm.
Been in the real estate business since 2007. I functioned as a real estate agent for a while. I've done business brokering, selling businesses for owners and helping people buy businesses using SBA grants. I also have a business selling e-bikes, electronic bikes. It's a fun project.
Oh yeah.
But my heart and soul is in real estate, specifically real estate finance, and helping people who may think they aren't able to buy find a path towards home ownership and building equity and creating a legacy and generational wealth for their families.
Yeah, perfect. That's it's really cool. One of my favorite things about doing interviews is the fact that oftentimes I get a chance to get to know you even better, or whoever I'm interviewing even better. So I'm really pumped for this. So, it definitely sounds like you mentioned you've been an entrepreneur since the age of 8. You've done different things, whether it be selling watermelons, helping out business owners with SBA loans, and helping people in every capacity, or even the e-bikes. So how is it that you found mortgage lending and mortgage banking? How did you niche down onto that?
Well, again, being in the real estate industry all those years, over time, you learn yourself. You
Hmm.
learn what suits you, what doesn't suit you. And just because one particular component of an industry doesn't suit you doesn't mean that the industry as a whole may not suit you.
Hmm.
So, being a real estate agent never really matched my personality. And, when it was time for me to pivot, 2020 definitely, caused many of us to have to adjust
Yeah.
what we were doing to a new normal. I realized that I could have a major impact in the financing aspect of it. So
Hmm.
it for me, it has, it's my job, but it's also where my purpose gets revealed. And I have
Yeah.
the ability to impact people's families and generations of people who I'll never even meet. And, what I do can have an impact on them.
Yeah, perfect. That's so true and so profound. I have a list of questions here, but what you're saying is bringing to mind so many other great things to ask. So, 2022, I think, is a point that we can all kind of commiserate with. We all went through COVID, through lockdown, all those different things. The entire society experienced that all together. So, how did you handle COVID and what that brought about, especially particularly like in regards to like your mindset and pivoting and helping keep your business run while the world was in chaos?
Well, if I'm going to be totally honest, once I realized what was happening for real, I saw like, wow, what an opportunity. I
Mm.
knew this was an opportunity because the world is shutting down. We are all forced to go within. So now I have the opportunity to do all these things I've been wanting to do for myself that I've been putting off my whole life.
Ah,
So I locked in on my diet. I lost I lost like 45 pounds that I
wow.
really needed to lose. I dropped my body fat percentage. I began meditating between 1 and 3 hours every day, and just got
Man.
really deep into my spiritual journey. I picked back up on martial arts. That's when I got interested in e-bikes and started that
Mm.
business. So for me, it was an opportunity to return to who I was before the rat race got its hands on me, and
Ah,
I
yeah,
started becoming who I thought the world wanted me to be. I was able to just press pause and do a reset.
yeah,
So, there were a lot of tragedies involved with it. I won't at all say it was a positive thing,
yeah.
but like everything else, Napoleon Hill said, every adversity carries with it the seed of an equivalent or greater benefit.
Mm.
And if you search for that, it's always there to be found.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's beautiful, man. Well, I'm glad that's I think that's a perfect testimony of how you can use a chaotic situation. And in the case of COVID, everything slowed down. And I think for many people, we felt a lot of anxiety having to be confined to our homes and having to not be able to work as much. But you took that time of slowness and peace to be able to double down on your business and, focus in on that. And that's great. And I do agree with what Marco Cardaccia says here, who's in the chat, that is indeed a great quote. Like that's going to be a nice clip in and of itself. We talked a little bit about COVID and 20, like we talked about your beginnings from being an entrepreneur at a very early age. We talked about going through COVID and how you were able to navigate those difficult times and come out the other side in a better position in many regards. So where are you right now in your journey in regards to your business?
So at this point, I feel like my business, I'm going to speak specifically about the mortgage business because that's
Hmm.
my pride and joy at this point.
Hmm.
I feel like for a period of time when I became a mortgage loan officer, I knew the mechanics of it, but I didn't have any clear direction.
Mm.
And it took some time and some luck and coming to a beach party to find a tribe of people that I can become a part of, that have a culture, that
Hmm.
really support one another. And just as a side note, I think no matter what your industry is, no matter what your goals are, you need to find a tribe, find a
Hmm.
podcast, find a group, find a club, and immerse yourself, because you'll learn things just by hearing other people talk about their experiences so much.
Hmm.
So, an amazing organization, Mortgage Marketing Animals, Carl White, Mike Cardaccia, all those guys, they have made such a difference in my daily life.
Hmm.
I wake up every day. I have a specific plan in mind. I know exactly what I'm doing Monday through Thursday and on Fridays. And the results are paying off almost immediately. Almost
Hmm.
immediately. And it's the difference between having a strategic plan and making sure you're doing the activities that are going to actually yield results, and
Yeah.
not just being busy all day, answering phone calls, spinning your wheels, which is really easy to do. And you look productive, but
Yeah.
it doesn't really pan out at the end of the month. So
Hmm.
I feel like that refining down and really understanding the importance of that is going to have a positive effect on everything I do going forward,
Yeah.
from my health to my business to my relationships, because it's a hard fact that it's not a good idea to try to do it all yourself. It's
Yes.
not a good idea to try to reinvent the wheel when the wheel has been here for hundreds of thousands of years. You
Hmm.
know.
It has been. It has been. So, you what you said, I think it was really impactful there is talking about, before you understood the mechanics, and I think I really resonate with that. And I think many people, and especially business owners can understand, like we understand marketing. We understand that I need to advertise to get leads, to convert those leads into revenue and clients, etc. But finding that strategy and finding that like sense of self-awareness and direction, what is some advice that you would give someone? Let's take this outside of business. Let's say for like on their entrepreneurial journey, like let's say they're a multi-passionate entrepreneur, they have different things they're excited about. How would you help? Like, what advice would you give to somebody in that place to help them narrow down and niche down on what it is that they're going to be the best suited to do?
Well, if all right, I would say truthfully, take the time to get to know yourself again.
Mm,
Take the time to remember who you were
hmm
before whatever happened. What did you used to dream about? What did you used to love? What were
mm,
your original passions? What would you do for free? you
mm,
know and how can that impact other people? How can you bring
mm,
value to the world and create something that may not exist, or may create opportunities for other people, that may solve a problem that people don't even know they have?
yeah.
But there's just so much power in self discovery, because I know that we are all born with a unique gift,
hmm
and it may not be the gift that we want it to be. It may not be the gift that our parents and other people told us we have. But, you know, again, these are a lot of theories and things that come to me in my meditation. So
Yeah.
some of this first time I've ever said this out publicly, but I feel like somewhere around 7 to 9 years old is
hmm
when the world changes us. We
hmm
see things for what we need to be instead of what we want it to. We don't believe in Santa Claus anymore. We
Yeah.
don't, all those little things go away. And I feel like for me personally, my greatest gift was tapping back into that time, remembering some of those old wounds that may have needed to be healed, and some of the things that created my personality that
Mm.
weren't necessarily of my own making.
Yeah, yeah. That's a very deep answer, and I agree with that honestly, because I think that oftentimes, I like to compare it to when you're a child and you attempt your first backflip and you have yet to fail. There's so much less fear compared to when you have tried and you have failed. I think that going through life, we all become a little bit more jaded and cynical to a certain degree, and we start to say, "Well, my dreams can never happen because I tried before and it didn't work," right? And
Right.
I think that, if like you mentioned, going back to, well, if you suspend your disbelief and it wasn't an issue about getting paid, will it or will it not work? What would you do, like, because you love it and you want to make an impact in that way? And then trying to find whether it is a new product or service, whether it's innovating on a current product or service, that doing that is actually a way to, especially with the mindset of how can I use that to impact people in a positive way? That is a way I think to get some, disproportional ROI in both, terms of revenue and impact. So I love that a lot. So, we're talking about these concepts about, self-reflection, meditation, like you mentioned, and how you mentioned a lot of these different thoughts have come to you during those times. So would you, I think that our me and the audience already know the answer to this, but would you say that mindset itself is important in business?
Mindset literally defines reality. Nothing is what it is what you believe it is,
Mm,
whether that's good or bad. So, controlling your mindset is arguably the most important thing, next to remembering to breathe and eat and drink water,
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
or being mindful of your mindset. Right?
Yeah.
Trying to control it would be like trying to sweep sand on the beach. The moment you get some, there's still more. It's a constant thing. It's never, the work is never done.
Mm-hmm.
But being conscious of it and knowing that that is important, so that when you find yourself drifting off course, you're checking in with yourself and you know what you need and how to take care of yourself.
Mm, mhm, mhm. And I think especially that's important, like you mentioned, when you're drifting off course, because I think that there are a plethora of different things that can take you off course, whether it be yourself and distractions or whether it's a change in the market. I mean, I think that
Mhm.
COVID is just the easiest example of a true black swan event that, especially for people with brick and mortar businesses, really changed the game. And without
Mhm.
being able to take a step back and reflect, like you said, you would definitely get knocked off course. And something else that you said, I think that was so profound, is talking about the continual reminding and the continual refreshing of that process. That is a never-ending process, especially because as life continues to go on, more things happen, and you just have to continuously be very, proactive about that, which I think is super important. So, how has mindset played out for you, and how has it been important for you, for you and your business? You have any examples where you have any examples?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, for example, just going back to what I was saying earlier with learning this DSP, a
Hmm.
daily sales plan. Um, no one likes making outbound calls. No one likes making outbound. No one likes calling a stranger and saying, "Hi, stranger, I want something from you. Please don't hang up and don't think this is weird." And
Yeah.
then they hang up on you and they talk to you like you're weird. And then your self esteem plummets. You're like, "Oh my God, this is never going to work." But
Hmm.
when you have a mindset of when you're surrounded by people who are where you're trying to go, and they
Hmm.
can tell you, hey, out of every 10, you're gonna maybe get two. And
Hmm.
out of those two, out of maybe one out of every is going to start working. So you can see the overall ratio, and it's a lot easier to have a mindset of, I'm going
Yeah.
to focus on the output. Let me just focus on making my calls, doing the actions that I know are going to work. And even if the first 10 doesn't pan out to two, law of averages says over time it will play out that way. So
Hmm.
it definitely helps you have more staying power and staying positive and not letting that negative voice. Me and my buddy, we call it the lawyer. There's a
Ah.
prosecutor and there's a defense attorney. There's a
Hmm.
prosecutor and there's a defense attorney. So, the defense attorney is just telling you how you can do it and there's possibilities and anything is possible and look at all these examples. And the
Hmm.
prosecutor, he remembers everything that's ever happened, every time somebody told you something negative, every mistake you've made, and he will whisper it in your ear. You know this isn't going to work, just like the last thing didn't work, right? Things like
Yeah.
this never work out for you. And knowing the difference between those voices, to
Yes.
me, is the definition of mindset. Because
Wow.
it's always, both are always going to be there. But
Hmm.
which one is talking at any given moment? And knowing the difference, so you can say, you be quiet, you keep talking.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know,
And
yeah.
that's super true and so profound and so powerful. And I think because on top of that, like that's gonna determine your actions, right? So you mentioned, like in the case of making outbound calls, like you can know logically that most people are gonna say no, and that's okay. All I need is for, let's say, two people a day to say yes in order to hit my revenue goals. But those no's can sometimes still feel, disparaging, and you can still feel a little bit downhearted, demotivated, etc. But being able to keep the perspective of, okay, each no is getting me closer to that eventual yes, I think is
Exactly.
super powerful, but it's hard to do that. So what are some things, let's say that you're a personal trainer, you give yourself like a workout routine, like what are some things that you for yourself have you done to help cultivate that more positive and more powerful and more resilient mindset within your business?
Well, I mean, everything starts with, the input determines the output. So if
Mm-hmm.
you spend your time watching trashy television, watching people
Mm-hmm.
arguing on TV, watching sensationalized stuff, watching politics and news where people are just arguing, it's going to create anxiety. It's going to create a feeling of something's wrong, things are falling apart, because that's
Yeah.
what the media does to keep you engaged so that they can sell that time to advertisers.
Yep.
But if you take control of that, I'm huge on audiobooks. I have been for the last 20 years,
Yep.
and I have consumed probably thousands of books via
Mm-hmm.
audio. I mean, it's a rare book I'll pick up and actually read.
Yeah.
So having a balanced diet of input, I have a mix of my spirituality. I'll
Mm-hmm.
have some, motivational John Maxwell, Jim Rohn kind of stuff going. And then
Mm-hmm.
I'll also have some nonfiction, just a movie book that's like, because I was a truck driver a really long time ago, something I didn't mention. So
Mm-hmm.
as a truck driver back in the early 2000s, those audio CDs and audio tapes we could get from the truck stops, that was the equivalent of being able to watch a movie while you're driving 11 hours a day. So that's where the audiobooks really stuck to me. And I realized how
Mm-hmm.
powerful a tool this could be in
Yes.
self-development, even after I stopped being a truck driver.
Yeah.
Um, so being very vigilant about controlling the input of what you allow your mind and your spirit to input and the things you see. It's not
Mm-hmm.
like you have to like completely put censorship on everything, but
Yeah.
a powerful thing happens when you're around your peers and they start gossiping about somebody, right? And you say, "Hey, I don't want to engage in that. Okay, I'm not into that." They're going to be thrown off, but in that same breath, they're going to trust you just a little bit more.
They
because
will.
they know if you're not going to gossip about him, you're probably not going to gossip about them. And they're
Mhm.
going to be more mindful about themselves in that way. So, all these little decisions in how you interact with the world and making sure that everything you do, as much as you can control, comes from a state of positivity, from a state of trying to leave people and things better than you found them. it,
Yep.
it compounds, and it's a lot easier to be positive when you get hung up on when you've been consuming nothing but positivity all day long. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, 110%, 110%. You know, Moses, that was a really great example of being mindful of what it is you consume. And we have Tyrell in the chat. Controlling the inputs. I think that that's a great point. So actually, Moses, that's that. So I'm gonna dovetail that into another question. But just to recap, just being mindful. I think what you mentioned best about your mindset is just being mindful of your mindset in the first place. Even thinking about, I want to be cognizant about what I'm consuming, what I'm thinking about, how I'm thinking about it. That, I think, that right there is the first step. Like, you can't ever change anything if you don't even know what's going on with it. So
That's right.
that, for those of you guys who are here watching live, as well as those who are watching the replay, that's the first step, is just being mindful about what it is you're thinking. So guys, if you're here live right now, go ahead and give us a quick like and a thumbs up, and let Moses know he's spending his time to be here. Let him know how much you guys are enjoying this. And on that note, Moses, you mentioned audiobooks, which is something that I'm personally a big fan of. So if you just rapid fire, what would be your top three books for a business owner to read in 2022 be?
um, How to Win Friends and Influence People, Dale
Mm-hmm.
Carnegie. Sun Tzu, The Art of War.
Ah.
And if you have not read it, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
Mm-hmm. That's a
Yeah,
that's a good that's a good list.
absolutely foundational. I mean, especially that Dale Carnegie book. I wish I had found that book 20 years ago. It really just taught me how to take the rough edge off of my approach, not
Mm-hmm.
be so concerned about my ego or how I think people are trying to handle me, and approach everyone from a place of gentleness, from a place of kindness, not holding people's feet to the fire every time they make a mistake. And
Yeah.
it increases the me getting what I want. I get what I
Yeah.
want a lot more often by
Mm-hmm.
being non-confrontational and giving people that same grace that I would like people to give me. You
Oh
know,
yeah, that's true. And like you mentioned, one of the most powerful things about communication, I think, is nuance. There was an entrepreneur by the name of Alex Hormozy who was talking about in like advising and consulting, and he was saying that instead of saying, "Here's what you should do," or "Here's how you can improve," what he has said instead was, "Here's what I did." Here's
that's
what has
it.
helped me, or here's what
That's
has helped
it.
my clients in the past. Because no one
That's
can argue with your own personal experience.
that's
What are they
it.
going to say?
That's
What are they
it.
going to say? You didn't do that to improve your business. What are they? That's not
Right,
how
right,
life works.
right,
So you're right.
right.
Like, that's a great book. Yeah. How to Win Friends and Influence People was one of my personal favorites. That definitely has helped
Yeah.
me. So you mentioned, that was a way that you shifted the way you spoke and were, smooth off the rough edges. So what would you say are some things that you did mindset wise? Like what are some shifts in mindset and perspective that have allowed you to get to where you are today?
Well, I will definitely say making mindfulness like as important as drinking water each day.
Mm,
And when I say mindfulness, it's literally just checking in with myself throughout the day. Every couple of hours, sometimes more frequently. How you doing right now, Moses? You okay? You all right? You need water? What, you got this knot in your stomach. What's that? What's bothering you? No, what's really bothering you? No, what's really bothering? And getting to the, you know,
yeah.
I make it's a very important, at least every 2 hours, I'm stepping away from that desk. I'm stepping
Hmm.
away from that phone, and I'm going to just take a 5 minute walk. I may listen to some of my spirituality or my positivity. I may listen to the birds chirp or watch the chickens in Ybor. That's where I work.
Oh yeah.
But whatever it is, I take the time to ask myself, how am I feeling? What do I need? And I give it to myself.
Hmm.
It doesn't take, an hour to do that. Just
Yeah.
stepping away and just letting your blood circulate, drop on the ground, do some push-ups, whatever it may be. Because because otherwise you'll just go adrift. You'll go adrift. You'll be a
Oh
little
yeah.
off drift, and then it goes into your next phone call. Then the energy you're bringing into that phone call affects the outcome of that phone call, which compounds. And then you're like, oh, I knew this day was going to suck.
Yep.
you know,
Mm.
and a major one is gratitude. Gratitude is probably the most important thing for me each day.
Mm-hmm.
It starts the day off, and there's some days when I don't want to do it because I'm upset. Now, what do I have to be gracious about gratitude about? And this
Yeah.
is wrong and that's going wrong. And then when you stop and say, wait, you woke up,
Mm.
you're breathing, your family is healthy, you have opportunities. The earth is still spinning, the sun came up, the birds are chirping. Like, you got lots to be grateful for. And living in a state of gratitude magnetizes miracles. It makes you more attractive to people. It makes people want to help you when you're even if things don't go the way you want. Still
Yeah.
have gratitude for people trying to help you. That same person will call you back an hour later, like, hey, I figured something else out. I got a way I can make this happen for you.
Yeah.
And the more I'm doing this consciously, I'm just seeing miracles play out all around me, and people just allying and going out of their way to find resources for me in ways that I didn't even ask them to.
Yeah, that's true. That's man, the gratitude one I think is super powerful. I think there was something I saw. I forget where it was I saw exactly, but it was someone that was saying, you know, if I offered you, $10 million today, but the only condition is that it will be your last day on earth. You will not wake up tomorrow. Will you take it? And the person he was speaking to said, no, I would not. And then they followed up and said, well, if that is the case, why do you not treat every day as if you were just given $1 million? Because that's how much you value each day. So you should maneuver and go throughout the day as if that were the case. And I think the point that you brought that's so powerful is talking about, well, my family and my close loved ones are doing okay today. And I think that, the price that I would put on my mom's health is an astronomical one. So I think when you're talking about having the perspective of, well, my loved ones are doing okay, so I'm okay, I think that's powerful. Because like you mentioned, on that next sales call, when you're entering it from a place of positivity and optimism, it's going to seep off into your energy, your vocal tonality, that how are you doing today versus how are you doing today, which makes all the
Right,
difference in the world,
right.
especially compounds over
And
time.
something else that I thought about earlier that I may wanted to make sure I mentioned, because I experienced this morning
Mm-hmm.
myself. I didn't get out the bed on the right side of the bed this morning,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a struggle to get myself going for a while. And I was saying to myself, and I'm really about to go and talk about mindset and positivity and the way I feel right now. And I'm like, Moses, this is why you need to, because you know what to do. What do you
Mm-hmm.
do, Moses? Do what you know to. So I went, I worked out. I called some family, I called some friends, I laughed, I took my mind off of myself and remembered how blessed I am. And in
Mm-hmm.
the course of that, I started feeling much better. But for the first part of the day, I had to forgive myself. And it's okay to not be okay sometimes.
Yeah.
It's okay to not be okay sometimes. The important thing is, don't make any decisions or do anything stupid when you're not okay. That's all
Yes.
that matters. If you know you're not okay, sit still, ask yourself what you need, give yourself what you need.
Mm-hmm.
Don't start arguments. Don't feed into anything. Know that it's you that may be the source of whatever it is because you're not okay. Communicate that to the people around you. Hey, I'm not okay today. I need some space. Please don't judge me for how I may be coming across. And
Yeah.
then go give yourself what you need, whatever that may be.
Mm-hmm.
But it's okay to not always be okay. We live in this culture of memes and positive affirmations where it's like it's an automatic weakness if you have a moment and
Yeah.
you start judging yourself and feel, oh, well, I must not have absorbed all these teachings if I'm having a bad
Yeah.
day. That'll never occur. And, one other thing I want to really also mention, you may have heard me discuss this before, is I've shifted my mindset when it comes to my mind space to it's about mental hygiene and mental housekeeping,
Mm.
right? When we think about health kind of has a binary connotation. You're either sick or you're healthy,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not that way with your mind and your spirit and your body for the same token. right? You
Yeah.
brush your teeth today. That doesn't mean you're done brushing your teeth the rest of your life. You're situated, my teeth are clean. No, you're going to have to brush them tonight. You're going to have to brush them tomorrow morning. It's the
Mm,
same thing with your mind. It's the same thing with your spirit. It's the
mm-hmm.
same thing with every aspect with your relationships. So when you have that mindset shift and focus on mental hygiene, cleaning up what's going on, clean it up. Don't let the filth accumulate. Don't let these bad thoughts fester. Don't let the prosecuting attorney
Yeah.
stand up on the stand for all day long and whisper everything negative in your ear. And
Mm-hmm.
a major part of that comes down to housekeeping.
Yep.
I look at that as far as organizing, keeping like we go through the day, we have all these experiences, right? Things happen, bad things, good things. We see things on TV, on the phone, but you don't know what to do with them. Like,
Mm-hmm.
how do I even feel about that? How did that affect me? That person said that thing. Taking the time to do housekeeping and put them in their appropriate place. That
Mm-hmm.
bothered me. I'm bothered by that. This made me happy. I'm happy about this. But understanding your feelings about the things that go on in your life so it doesn't just turn into one big gumbo and you just don't know how you feel. I'm happy, sad, angry, gleeful. And most of us could say that if we don't take the time to do that housekeeping to where you
Yep.
can separate the person from the experience. Like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
this person may have said something that was hurtful to me, but I still do love this person. So
Yeah.
let me make sure I approach this person from a place of love and we focus on that situation and not make it me against you, which is so easy to happen.
Very, very, very much so. That's one of the confrontational approaches. I think like the default approach to go into, and I think that might be maybe just part of our survivalistic nature that I had to make through the day. But I think when you're talking about the hygiene and how it has to be a continual practice, the brushing your teeth analogy I think is spot on and perfect because, like you said, just because you brushed it tonight and you did your practices tonight doesn't mean that you won't have to do them again tomorrow. And I think, like you mentioned, that things will happen throughout the day, whether it be someone in person, whether it be something from social media, whether it just be something just random, just nature. These things do affect us. I think what you're talking about with mental housekeeping and mental hygiene is super important and cannot be understated. So Moses is a very readily apparent to me that throughout your life you've definitely accumulated a wealth of wisdom and learned so much. And you've definitely shared that to me when I have been going through my own things on my entrepreneurial journey. You've definitely given me some clarity, which is why I want to have you on today. But also, what are some things that if you could have gone back to a younger version of yourself and gave them some words of encouragement or some advice, what would those things? What would that look like?
Everything I just said.
Mm,
The number one is take the time to know yourself. Take the time to get to know yourself. Find out who you are and what you like, not what your friends like, not what you people want you to be, you
mm-hmm.
know. And sometimes the only way to know that is to try things and fail. And our society looks down on that in some ways, but I think it needs to be a shift in culture where we need to bring back an apprenticeship model where young people have the ability to come and experience what it's like to be this profession and this thing and just get exposure. And the people in power aren't taking it personal if that person doesn't choose to do that the rest of their lives.
True.
You may do something for a year or two and find that it no longer suits you. That's okay. But the real crime would be to stay in something that no longer suits you because of your parents' expectations.
Mm-hmm.
Or, there've been attorneys who found out they really wanted to be a travel blogger.
Oh yeah.
They've been, and that's where your happiness is. And you're not a tree. You're not a tree.
Yep.
You can get up and go anytime. You're not stuck there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that right there was, I would say for me that's not something I've ever had a problem with because I'll pivot just like that.
Yeah.
Um, but I wish I had taken, I wish I had stopped and slowed down more. Especially, I wish I had appreciated my blessings.
Yeah.
I achieved so many things in my life, and I didn't even stop to smell them. It was on to the next thing.
Mm-hmm.
And because I kept that pressure on myself, I never really got the enjoyment of any of my accomplishments. So it's like having a to-do list, and that's the bad habit I used to have, and you delete everything as you do it. At the end
Yeah.
of the day, you feel like you didn't do anything, but you probably did a list of things
Hmm.
versus having that list there and checking them off.
And you
And
can
then at
still
the
look
end of the
back.
day, you can go back and feel that sense of accomplishment for what you actually did get done. So
Hmm.
that would be definitely my advice to my younger self.
Perfect. I love it. I love it. Guys, everyone who is currently here on the live stream, I want you guys to, if you want to ask any questions, to think about them because I have just one quick statement and then one quick question for Moses, and then we're going to go ahead and do a Q&A and then wrap things up here. So just if you have any questions, go ahead and shoot them in the chat, and then I'll go ahead and ask them and bring them up to the screen. But something I wanted to talk about real quick, Moses, is something that's super important, I think, and something that's near and dear to my heart, and that's accountability. And so when you mentioned, that you had this, when you woke up on the wrong side of the bed today and you were thinking about different things of how can I go ahead and discuss mindset while also myself, waking up on the wrong side of the bed, so to speak. But then you were able to use your practices that you share with us to actually help yourself. I think that's a very powerful example of how accountability and placing yourself in a position where you are helping others through what you have learned helps to make the lessons that you teach and learn even further reinforced within yourself. And I'm a huge proponent for placing what you're doing in a public environment so you can help and motivate and encourage others. And for full transparency, that's part of the reason for this show is to hold myself accountable, but also to help serve as education and motivation and inspiration for the next generation of entrepreneurs. So I think that's a perfect example of accountability within a very real scenario. So one last question. Oh, sorry. You want something want to insert?
No, no, not at all.
Okay.
Just clearing my throat. Sorry.
Gotcha. So yeah, so Moses, thank you so much for being here today. Thank you so much for sharing. I've got, and I myself, it's cool. I never knew the watermelon story, so it's nice because I really am learning a lot more about you real time with you and the with the audience both live as well as people on the replay, which is amazing to experience. Thank God for technology. But also, I wanted to ask you, well, where can people find you, and how can people connect with you if they want to do to do business, et cetera, et cetera. Where can you be found?
So I am all over social media. I'm on all of the different networks. On Instagram, I am Moses the Mortgage Guy.
Mm-hmm.
Moses Alford on Facebook. On LinkedIn, I'm Moses Alford. I have a business page as well as a personal page. So I'd be appreciative if you could follow both of them. Um, yeah, and when it comes to pre-approvals and anything related to real estate, that is my passion, absolutely. So if you have any questions, if you don't even know if you're able to buy and you just want to find out what it takes to get on track, I love having those types of conversations. It's completely non-pressure. I'm just, I'll share free game with you. And hopefully when that time comes, you'll come back and do some business or refer me, to some folks that you know.
Perfect, perfect. Well, Moses, thank you so much for your time, man. Do you have any final words before we go ahead and sign on off?
Um, I just want to say I'm really thankful for this opportunity. I am appreciative at the fact that my experiences and the things that I've gone through, even all the way up to this morning, can have an effect and positively impact other people. And you know, sometimes I laugh to myself because I've always wanted to be able to impact other people and help them through the difficulties.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it's like maybe that's why some of these extra difficulties come to me, because how can I teach people or show them about things I've never been through?
Mm.
So occasionally it's like, oh, I did this to myself. But again, that's the accountability and being cognizant of it, that I know that my feelings at any given moment, my mindset is not a absolute thing, and I can control it. And the
Mm-hmm.
important thing is don't do anything stupid and don't make any mistakes until I get myself back on track.
Yes.
So if I could leave everyone with anything, I want to leave you with that. It's okay to not be okay sometimes. Check in with yourself, know what you need, find what makes you happy, spend your time doing that. Check in with yourself. It's okay to change your mind. Just be true to yourself, please.
Perfect. I love it. Well, thank you, guys. Thank you so much again, Moses, for coming here and sharing your time and all your experiences. I'm really happy that you can be on this show and help make an impact. I appreciate it so much, and thank you everyone who was here live with us. We appreciate your support and your comments, and everyone watching the replay. Thank you so much as well. Like and subscribe for more, and we're gonna probably end up having Moses here back in a couple months. With some updates on where he is in his business. At that point, how things have changed and what has life brought him that he can share with us as well. So once
I
again, thank
look
you so much,
forward to it.
Moses. And yeah, it's gonna be
Thank
a
you.
great
Thanks
time.
everybody for tuning in. I really appreciate you guys. Reach out to me. I'd love to have these conversations on a one-on-one if there's anything that I've mentioned that you're curious about knowing more about.
Perfect. Sounds good. See you guys next Sunday at 8 p.m.
Yeah. Bye-bye.